prior to the therapy session. Going into my therapy session today, I know I have a lot eating at me internally, hence my Thursday episode with friends. On Thursday, I got overly intoxicated with two very good friends of over 10 plus years and a new friend named Peter with whom I have a romantic relationship. My good friends understood that something was going on with me, however, Peter was shocked and angry. I don't have any idea what I'm going to get out of this session, but there are key thoughts that come to mind that I'm confused about. In order to prepare me for my therapy session, I write in my journal the following reflections that are based on the feelings and thoughts that enter my mind. Why do I feel like I subconsciously sabotaged my friendship with Peter on Thursday? The next day, I felt bad for him, but a part of me was relieved that he was upset with me. Relieved because I now no longer need to keep trying to prove to him that I'm really a friend. Sometimes I'm confused about my friendship with Peter. Sometimes he talks to me and treats me like a woman, and other times I feel like he treats me like a kid or his daughter. I know when I drink too much, my inner child comes out and I purposely act out to make him angry. Why? I have no idea. Just feel rebellious, the same way I used to feel if I was with my father. He reminds me a lot of my father in many ways. He's such a kind and loving man. Very headstrong. What he says goes. Don't disrespect me. Physically present only when he has the time or wants to be. Too many other important things to focus on, like work. Work and making money are number one. For my father, it was because he was an orphan, and I believe in my father's mind it was not just a matter of making money, it was a matter of survival. Not sure if it's the same for Peter. Thick internal walls to protect all his internal childhood pain of not being valued and being all alone. It makes me very sad. Not sure if it's Peter's case, but I can understand why if it is. When Peter and I are intimate, he is so beautiful. Unfortunately, the next day, the switch turns off, the walls come up, nice to see you, got to get to work, see you in a month. Such a beautiful man. But I know this friendship, the way that it currently is not healthy for me. Therapy session. As my therapy session begins with my therapist, I explain to him everything that I wrote in my journal this morning and my episode on Thursday. The following was our pre-regression therapy discussion. I'm not sure what exactly is going on, but I have a gut feeling that I purposely, subconsciously that is, caused the chaos with Peter, and I'm not sure why.
What is it that you feel around that statement?
I feel like I want him to leave me alone.
Could you leave him alone?
I don't want to leave him alone. I want him to leave me alone.
I'm confused. I'm not sure what the difference is. If you want him to leave you alone, it's just as easy for you to leave him alone.
No, there is a difference. I'm not sure what the difference is, but there is a big difference. Maybe I'm not strong enough to do so. He's such a very sweet man, probably one of the sweetest men I've met. He's always trying to help me. He's so sweet. But that also scares me.
How does that scare you?
Because I fear that his help is a means of control over me.
And what does that control mean to you?
That I will lose my life. Growing up, my father always controlled me and my life. I had no life until I moved out on my own. My father controlled everyone's life. He especially controlled my stepmother's life. I think he was so concerned about her being unfaithful like my biological mother that he took total control of her life so he wouldn't lose her too. I do not want that life. The life of a man controlling me, and he thinking my life needs to revolve around him, then I have to do what he tells me to do.
So your fear is someone else having control of your life. This seems to be the problem theme that we need to go to in the regression journey in order to find the root cause of the problem. Do you agree?
Yes. being controlled or not having control of my life is a very big fear of mine.
Okay, let's start there.
The regression therapy. The regression therapy begins with the help of my therapist inducing me into a deep, relaxing state, hypnotic state, with the intentions to go back to an early stage of this lifetime or an entire other lifetime to find the root of my problem that I need to heal, my fear of someone else having control of my life. My therapist begins hypnosis by describing a relaxing journey and then guiding me through this journey, which allows me to drift into a very comfortable, deeply relaxed state. In this relaxed state, I have a heightened concentration and focus, with the ability to concentrate intensely on reaching the root cause of my problem, while blocking out sources of distraction. Though my therapist is my guide into this relaxed state of discovery, the control is totally with me. Control has been predetermined by the power of my own intention, which is to come to healing. Following a prayer of intention and the hypnotic induction, my subconscious takes me back to the following lifetime. I'm a teenage girl, and I'm standing in a field about 50 yards away from our log house. I hear my father yelling at me and calling me to come home immediately. He's the most vocal, adamant, and controlling. He's more emotional than he's been in his entire life.
Okay, let's go to the next important event in that lifetime revolving around you being controlled.
I'm angry. I'm feeling stuck. I see myself growing up, and my father has complete control over every aspect of my life. I'm so stuck.
Okay, so let's try this. When I count to 3, you will find yourself earlier in that life when you were in your mother's womb. Let me know what you feel when you arrive in that place.
Okay.
What are you feeling emotionally?
I'm very uncomfortable. I know what the future has in store. Someone is not going to survive this birth. It's going to be me or my mother.
What happens next?
I have survived, but she didn't. As I lay there after my birth, my father is there taking care of me. However, he's not emotionally present. It's as if he was not even there.
How does that make you feel?
I'm feeling I am here and I am alive. Why isn't anyone really with me? Why am I alone? Why doesn't my father care about me? I feel all alone and scared.
Let's go to the next important event in that lifetime.
I'm in my preteen years, and my father is yelling at me and telling me, girls should not sit that way, girls should not talk that way, girls should not act that way.
And how does that make you feel?
I feel like telling him, what do you know about girls? Have you ever been one? Are you a girl? What do you know about girls, Mr. Perfect? Why don't you just leave me alone? That's interesting.
What is interesting?
Now I understand what I meant when I said at the beginning of this session that I want him, Peter, to leave me alone. You asked me why couldn't I just leave him alone? And I told you because it is different. Now I understand. When I said I want him to leave me alone, what I was really saying was I don't want him to control me. There is a big difference between him leaving me alone and me leaving him alone. I didn't mean anybody leaving anybody alone. What I mean is, don't control me. I want him to let me be and not control me.
Oh, good distinction. So what comes next in the life we are visiting?
I go back to where I first started at the beginning of this regression therapy. And I'm standing in the field about 50 yards away from the log house. My father is yelling and screaming at me in anguish to come back to the house. And I tell him that I will not. I need to prove to him that he cannot control me anymore. I want to be free. to fly.
So what happens next?
Suddenly, I can sense that there is something to the left of me and behind me that is dangerous. But I am so headstrong and determined not to let my father control my life anymore that I don't pay attention to it. My only goal is to set myself free from his control. I was so focused on being set free that I didn't realize that my life was going to end at that moment. I'm suddenly attacked by an animal from behind. I can't see what kind of animal it was. As I'm being devoured by this animal, my parting thoughts are, "Father, what a bastard you are. I was so distracted by you controlling my life. I could not even focus on my own life."
So, following the journey out of the body in that death, describe what you experience.
Immediately, I feel lighter. I depart that life and ascend. I find myself going up to the light. Then I'm with someone in the light. I recognize him and his presence as my guide. He takes my hand and asks me, "What did you learn in that lifetime, my dear?" I abruptly told him, "Absolutely nothing." I had such a controlling father, so much that he made me oblivious to my surroundings and my own instinct.
So how does the guide respond?
I sense that he realizes I'm really upset, and he makes no effort for further communication. He allows me to ascend higher to the light of God. As I ascend up and reach the light of God, I immediately feel God's presence, peaceful, calming, and pure. God is giving me the light to bathe in. He is that light. I immediately succumb to his presence and peace. I float at peace for a while, and then I ask him, "Father, I don't have the answers to how I could have handled the situation differently, and I can't see any other option or conclusion."
So what happens next?
As I'm floating in his presence, these wonderful feelings of peace flow through my entire self. I've never felt so peaceful. It feels wonderful and calming. I can't even imagine what anger feels like. It seems so foreign to me.
That is so wonderful. So be in that place of his presence for a while, relaxing into that, feeling it. Nothing else to do. So now with this wonderful feeling of peace that you have with you, let's carry the state back to the life that you had just left and to the early experiences in that life and notice the impact. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go back to the time when you were born and you felt so alone. And even though your father was taking care of you, you didn't feel that your father was really present. What's happening now?
I can now feel what is happening inside him while he's not present with me. He is grieving my mother's death. I feel bad for him. I have compassion for him, even love. It's okay that he is not emotionally there for me. He is there physically, and he's taking care of me. I will be fine now with this understanding. I don't feel so alone or abandoned. He just needs time. I'm okay with being with myself, so I'm okay. I'm at peace.
That's good. So let's continue to take these feelings of peace into the next significant time in that lifetime, when your father is telling you how a girl should act. What is the impact of this peace upon that event?
I now see that he is only trying to help me and is trying to fulfill the role of my mother the best that he can. He's just afraid, trying to fulfill the shoes of a woman. He knows he can't, but at least he tries. So I really appreciate him for that courage. I now have a lot of compassion for him.
Good. So let's take those feelings of compassion to the next significant event in that lifetime, when you were growing up as a teenager and he's constantly trying to control you. What is the impact of that compassion and peace upon that period with him? And what happens now?
Instead of being angry with him, I recognize that he is controlling only because he's trying to control the only thing he has control of, his life, hence my life. As I go deeper, I recognize that his intentions are not to control me as my master. He is only trying to keep me alive because he loves me so much. He can't bear to lose me as he lost my mother, his wife. He only means the best for me.
Good. So what comes next for you?
I'm no longer angry with him, and I'm surprisingly at peace and have compassion toward him. Every time that he becomes possessive and controlling, instead of getting angry and trying to gain my control back, I just laugh and lovingly say to him, "Father, you are going crazy. Stop trying to take control of me. You're being silly."
How does your father react?
His immediate reaction is to get angry with me, and I see he is thinking, "I am your father. I know what I'm doing, and you will not disrespect me." But as he sees that I continue to look at him with a loving smile, he knows in his heart that I absolutely love him and respect him very much. But I'm not affected by his fears. He has to trust that everything is going to be okay. I am now able to focus on my life and to be in tune with my instincts and to make the choices which are most healthy for me. At the end of the session, I learn that there is always another solution. Love works wonders. If we just open our hearts, it will in turn open our minds.